Live, sir.
Indeed, we are.
What's up, man?
Not too much. Feeling pretty good. Got my furnace heater fixed. The
Nice.
fan on it died, but they gave me a brand new one. It was under warranty, so
All right, good stuff, man. You got the house heated, everything's protected. They did the whole maintenance thing too. They checked everything out, right?
yeah.
Yeah, they scoped it out. So now you got some confidence that you'll be good for the rest of the season. Next, you got to get your air conditioner checked, right? Yeah, see, homeowner, bro. This is what it is. This is what it is. I mean, unless you don't use air conditioning.
Oh no, I do. But let's get right into it because I know we got RFK going live later on today, and then Technoid's going live later on today. So let's
Yeah.
get right into it.
Yeah, man. So peep this out, right? The two things I want to discuss today are going to revolve around T-Mobile, namely. There is one thing we could potentially have time for at the end of the show that you wanted to talk about, maybe somewhat inspired by the video I dropped earlier, right? So that they'll kind of go hand in hand. Me personally, Dennis, I think this is a sign of good things to come. Carriers, ISPs beating each other up in the marketplace. You know, we had this discussion last week in talking about like free lines and how you and I agreed that we ultimately don't really care that much whether or not T-Mobile gives free lines because people paying less on their account for more is good, right? Me and you were on the same page on this.
Agreed.
And actually, it's weird. There was somebody in the comment section, strangely, who said that I didn't take that stance or something before. I've always been on the side of the consumer. I've never been on the side of a corporation. There's no way I could ever take the side of a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate over hardworking people. Like I stand by this, and here's why. The same thing goes with like the NFL. People sit there and complain and say things like, "Oh, I can't believe these NFL players make so much money. I can't believe the NBA players make so much money." What do you care? The billionaire owners, but you want to talk about the players making too much money? You are crazy. So
There's not
I'm always going to side with the people. I'm always going to side with the underdog, the smaller. This is who I am. It's kind of like in the DNA.
yeah,
So
there's
I'm
not
like
too
you,
many
bro. I'm like you.
There's not too many instances where I think I would find myself taking the side of a multi-billion-dollar corporation. I could think of a couple instances where I would, where if it's just like I'm just gonna use an outrageous example. If someone like literally came out and said, you know what, gigabit symmetrical fiber is just some tomfoolery. I want my DSL. I want slow speeds. All right. I'd be like, I'd
Yeah,
probably rip up
right.
a new one or something
Mhm.
like that, but that's for different reasons. But anyway,
Oh,
I see you have yeah,
One more
good.
thing, Dennis. I have to ask about my audio. Somebody yesterday in my the comment section of my live stream said that my audio is low. Is that the case? Is my audio low?
I don't think so.
I listened back, it didn't sound low to me. I don't know if it's just my ear. I have no idea. But I don't know. I couldn't tell. So I'm just confirming and to those of you in the live chat, let me know if you think I sound low. I can increase the gain. I could turn up the volume. It doesn't sound low to me. I just there's no reason for me to turn it up if it doesn't need to be, and then I'm gonna overpower Dennis in a conversation. That's my only fear.
Hey, don't worry, I'm telling you I can get loud, but you have an interesting title. It says T-Mobile renegotiates deals with MVNO partners. Sneed, get me up on what's cooking here. What do we got going on with this?
Okay, so the situation here, and this is something I've discussed in previous videos. We've been watching T-Mobile kind of discontinue deals, partnership agreements with MVNOs. They made a total mess of whatever was happening with Dish prior to like last week. Okay, so they appear to have kind of sorted through some things and they've kind of worked out their differences. Perhaps it's, like I don't know, a situation where, they had a falling out with Dish. It was about 3G and CDMA. Maybe maybe Dish was overplaying their card. They tried to bully T-Mobile, then T-Mobile tried to bully Dish. A little bit of that tit for tat business, you know what I mean? And then that was bad for a long time. I'm talking like 6, 7, 8 months bad. They seem to have worked it out. I'm sure they came to the table and said, hey, let's just figure this out. The DOJ got involved with the Spectrum thing. It was messy, man. And then they watched a lot of their MVNO partnerships fade. They chose not to renegotiate. They chose not to resign. They let some companies go. Me personally, I think they just let them go so they could start from scratch with most of these deals, right? So they can kind of see themselves, see where they stand post-merger as they kind of integrate the network, purge some of the old deals, renegotiate new ones from scratch that like fit their terms. Now, look, I'm not saying that's good. That could hurt some companies because then they're in a scramble trying to figure out where they're going to go. Can they make a deal with Verizon? Can they make a deal with AT&T? Because that's your only three options, right? So if you don't have one, you got to choose one of the other two. So this is refreshing. They just inked an extension or a new deal with Google Fi. So Google Fi will continue to operate with at least T-Mobile in the future. I don't know what they're doing with US Cellular because they do have that deal, right? Okay. I don't know how long that is. I don't know if they plan on keeping that long term. Obviously, the more that T-Mobile builds and adds coverage, the less they need US Cellular, right? So maybe there comes a day where T-Mobile legit builds in US Cellular territories. They won't need that deal. The other partnership that they are working on, and I think this is going to close pretty soon, is the Altice deal, right? So that actually predates T-Mobile. That's kind of like an integrated deal that came from Sprint. And then technically they had a deal with Cox through Sprint. That's probably not going to work in T-Mobile's favor. That's probably going to Verizon. At least that's what the court proceedings seem to indicate. Right. So, but here's my take though. I'm happy because AT&T has been eating T-Mobile's dinner in MVNO partnerships, and nobody is as active in MVNO partnerships as Verizon. They went and bought TracFone. They signed with Mobile X, right? They've got all these other smaller partnerships. US Mobile is a nice little company, man. And if they can grow a little bit, like they and you know, take for example the Cox situation. The only thing that really surprised me there is that T-Mobile's unwilling to match. That's kind of weird. So if they decide to let that business go and not match Verizon, that kind of rubs me the wrong way. That's very uncarrier. It's more carrier than uncarrier. But that's kind of what the news is that these MVNO agreements, and I got a video that's going to drop tomorrow morning. You guys will have the deets on it. But that's what's going on right now. And yeah, somebody brought up Mint, right? They got that deal too. I'm just looking at this like this, Dennis. T-Mobile is on the sidelines for the last couple of years with these MVNOs. Maybe now they're changing their tune and they're getting back in the game. What do you think?
Well, two things. One, I felt like a mime there for a second. But two, as far as the deals go, here's my stance on it. I think that T-Mobile kind of screwing the pooch, trying to fill themselves up a little bit, was good for the industry as a whole. Because it made it so that more people ended up picking Verizon as an MVNO, because it made AT&T want to be a little bit more aggressive. Like, I think AT&T being aggressive right now in the MVNO space is something that we desperately needed, because there really hasn't really been any real AT&T prepaid plan options. It was always AT&T prepaid and Cricket, and that was it,
Right.
essentially. So loving that AT&T is being aggressive, loving that T-Mobile is at least starting to play a little bit more ball. I still think T-Mobile, like, I know what the numbers say, like, right, like, I'm aware that Verizon acquired TracFone, but I still think when it comes to the MVNO space, I still think T-Mobile has a larger amount of influence on that segment and demographic of consumers than I necessarily would like to see. Um, I'm hoping that with Verizon making that acquisition, we start seeing some really more aggressive plays, more akin to like the Visible playbook, but without like the really poor experience that comes with dealing with a company like Visible on the consumer like customer service side of things, the security aspect of things, because we talked about, the whole phone breaches, credit cards, all that stuff, right? Like, I'm hoping to basically see, like, basically what I want to see is I want to see a Mint Mobile, but a Mint Mobile that uses Verizon, a Mint Mobile that uses AT&T. And I don't want it to actually be Mint Mobile, but what I'm getting at is, like, I want a company like Mint Mobile who's got their
Gotcha.
stuff together,
Yeah, yeah.
right,
Mhm.
to be available to consumers. As far as the deals with Google Fi goes, I don't see them getting rid of their US cellular partnership. Because realistically speaking, I don't see T-Mobile actually expanding out into all the places that US Cellular has important footprint. And taking that one step even further, I don't see any of the carriers building out into US cellular land, just keeping it honest, because it's not something that's like a really interesting, profitable endeavor. It's kind of just like, yeah, you exist, just do your thing. And as far as the partnerships with the cable operators go, um, I still feel a little bit icky about how that played out. Like, it would be one thing if the cable operators were like, yes, new T-Mobile, you're the one. But T-Mobile definitely pulled. I mean, look, any corporation would have done what they did. Honestly, I guarantee you, Verizon probably would have been doing the same stuff too. But I, I don't like seeing that in the free market. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wish that wasn't the case, because I still think Verizon is the better, like, overall, like, network to pick if you're gonna eke out a
Isn't it
deal.
kinda shocking that they're the cheaper, more affordable option for these MVNOs? Isn't that kinda crazy?
I think it's because Verizon is no longer so Verizon's not a growth company. We kind of talk. I think you've touched on that before, right?
Mhm.
Cellular is quite saturated, and I think the reason why Verizon is positioning their pricing the way that they do is because these cable operators are essentially buying business plans, paying pretty good premiums as far as the plans go. Like, they're not like other MVNOs that are out there. Like, they're actually paying a little bit more money per gig of data utilized. And it's a way for Verizon to both get some growth and offset any losses from people that switch over. I think that's the reason why Verizon's working out those lucrative deals with said cable operators, because there's probably a little bit of hand in hand sharing there. Plus, Verizon also knows too that when they get people like Comcast on board, Verizon is cognizant of the fact that, like, Comcast will deploy their spectrum they acquired from previous auctions, which offloads traffic off the Verizon network. And, they do rely on companies like Comcast for backhaul. I'm sure there's probably some, like, behind the scenes deals there too, maybe getting
Well,
other.
alright, so you're right. You're right about a lot of things there, Dennis. You highlight like, the data traffic of those Comcast, Xfinity, Spectrum Mobile customers. They're only adding customers, like, to the tune of 500,000 customers a quarter. So that network traffic is increasing on the Verizon network. They as they grow, their bill increases. More of their customers using more data. Just getting more customers, period, right? They're gonna have to do that offloading CBRS stuff. And they are. They're building out band 48. They're gonna run literally cable coax to this crap, all right? Just so you know, they're gonna now they do have to move to DOCSIS 4.0 if they're really gonna get fast uplink and downlink, right? So they're gonna have to do that. So Dennis 4.0 will save the day for the band 48 on Comcast and Spectrum.
So you do. I just want to throw this out here real quick. I can't speak for every
They
operator,
do
but
run fiber though, Dennis, so they'll run fiber to those small cells for sure.
that's actually what I was going to tell you.
Yeah.
So Comcast, with their actual, like, if you go to like a church, for example, or some community area, you'll see they have a different type of, like, Xfinity hotspot that actually has fiber to it, and it's doing symmetrical speeds over Wi-Fi.
Right.
It's actually some of the few hotspots that doesn't have that, like, 30 meg cap. It's like legit, just like full bore, and it's actually really legit.
Ricky chiming in. Just poke the stick at the honeybee nest.
But yeah, so that's my thoughts on it. We'll see what happens. But that's my thoughts on the whole shtick of everything at the moment, where that goes.
We'll see, man. I mean, if they end up taking a couple more deals from maybe some of those smaller players from AT&T, maybe if they get some new partnerships that never existed before, I don't know.
I just had a thought. I just had a really big thought. There's one carrier that we haven't talked about at all. Where's Dish land in this? Does Dish even have any room to work out an MVNO deal? Because that would be kind of interesting. And
Well,
how would that look?
they gotta have their own network.
Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at, though. Like, no. This is like a little hack that I just thought about for a second. So Dish is roaming on AT&T at a pretty aggressive rate. If
Mhm.
I was a company and roamed on, worked out an agreement with Dish, would I also have the full power of AT&T's network to boot? Would that be like the little loophole to get an even better network access?
Well, I'm guessing AT&T didn't put that in the agreement, right? Like, why would you why would you let a national carrier resell national access on your like, that would be crazy, you know? I mean, they're using it, it's gonna be the fallback, it's gonna be the primary for most people. You could still choose T-Mobile if you want. They still have the TN SIM access versus the, Boost Transform Network, BTN SIM. I don't know what the split is on that, I don't know how many percentage-wise where they're going. Um, we'll see, man. We'll see how this plays out. I do wanna see them get an MVNO, but they have to build a network national. You gotta cover 70, 80% of the country's pops to even be considered nationally a carrier. So what does that mean? You gotta cover your top 46 PAs or whatever, top 50 PAs. You gotta get the rest of them too. You're gonna have to cover a lot. And that's what Verizon did over the last frickin' 30 years. And that's what AT&T has done over the last 30 years, and that's what, the carriers had to do by buying the regional carriers. Like, that's not a joke. Like, every regional carrier that T-Mobile consumed enhanced their coverage footprint. iWireless, Metro, Sprint, like, all this stuff matters. Verizon, Alltel, Bluegrass, Bruns Tucky Wireless. I don't know, bro. Like, you name them, they bought them. AT&T did the same thing, you
So
know?
on the topic of building a network, why don't we talk about T-Mobile and their lofty 5G UC goals?
All right, man, look. They say they got 200 million pops right now, right? 200,
Mhm.
210, something like that. Getting to 260 requires 3 times as much densification. That's tough. It took them 2.5 years to get to this point today. How long is it going to take them to build another 3x tower site upgrades?
I'd say at the pace they're going and the CapEx expenditure that they're putting into it, at least another 2 years.
They say they're going to do it in a year.
It ain't happening, chief.
This
Or
is
let me
why
rephrase that. It ain't happening based off of real world performance. They might get little speed islands. They might get the pops, as they like to measure by, but it ain't gonna be actual square footage of coverage that matters.
it's lofty goals, man. It's going to be freaking hard to do. All right, so the first 100 million pops of Verizon, they turned it on, boom, 100 million pops, right? That's the
Mhm.
easy part because you were building it before it was deployed,
Right.
right before it went live. They're probably closer to 115, 120 million pops right now, from what we're hearing. They got the airport clearance in most instances. They got a lot of sites up and running that were being installed that weren't on yet. Those get turned on. They're turning them on every day. Like, there are engineers that are telling me, we're literally, they get deployed. We tune them. We do all the settings, and everything on their side with all the programming. They go live. They're not waiting to do them in clusters. Literally one after one after the other after the other. They get permits to do the installations. They get them live ASAP. Fiber, they don't care. It's just turn them on. So Verizon's probably going to hit at least 175 million pops by the end of the year. That's what's pushing T-Mobile to stay ahead. That's really the only reason, Dennis, I think they're pushing themselves and publicly to speak at an investors conference. Like, you're coming out to make a statement if you're Neville Ray. Hey, we've been doing this. We're 2.5 years into this. Look how far ahead we are. He also said that they're the envy amongst all the other carriers. What do you think to that, Dennis?
I don't think they're the envy. I think the more appropriate word here would be along the lines of, if there was any jealousy to be involved, it's that T-Mobile basically got a stimulus check from the government and got the easy hand-me-down road, whereas Verizon and AT&T basically got their teeth pulled out just to deploy a network. But look, as far as T-Mobile goes, I believe that Verizon deploying C-band is making them feel a little bit of a fire to speak to investors. But if we look at like how T-Mobile does things, I don't actually think T-Mobile's 5G UC is going to end up covering as many people as Verizon's C-band does. Like, I don't think that's actually T-Mobile's end target. Like, what I mean by that is this. Like, let's think about how T-Mobile over the years has always done their network, right? T-Mobile has always been known as being basically the city carrier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, while they have made attempts and efforts to go out into rural America and give coverage, that has always been like a secondary aspect to improve the quality of their network, like the perception of the quality of their network, but less to do with like actually doing it from like a business use case standpoint. Like, T-Mobile's demographics are in the city. That's where their money is. That's where it's cheaper for them to deploy things. It just makes sense for them. I don't think they literally have the means to do rural deployment, because part of being able to do rural deployment goes back to that whole thing about how we talked about needing to own your own fiber so you can actually provide backhaul to those sites. Like, there are a lot of sites that T-Mobile has that are literally using T1 backhaul. They might want to put 5G UC on there, but it doesn't it won't do anything for them unless they upgrade.
We have a group of we have many viewers and supporters that have no clue what T1 backhaul is. Dennis, if you could quantify that in a metric, please. Megabits.
So a single T1 backhaul line would be 1.5 megabits per second, although it's more common to see bonded T1 lines, which would be 3 megabits per second of total backhaul. Now, the reason why I was saying owning the fiber is important is because when you're a renter, it is actually more expensive to provide fiber backhaul to a rural site than one that is in a city. It's just more expensive. So
Absolutely.
the only way to make it economical in any degree is if you own your own fiber. That's the only way to make it
Well,
economical.
you know what they've been doing, Dennis, from what I understand, is they take the backhaul from one site and they'll send a microwave signal to a neighboring site.
So that is true. They do that. Your only problem here with that is that requires density. And the further you go out into rural America, the less realistically that performs. Like, at best, I'll be generous. At best, T-Mobile might be able to eke out like 300 megabits per second worth of backhaul with that, which, if the backhaul is 300 meg, I'll ask the question again. What's the point of deploying N41? You can get 300 meg over just band 66, band 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that's kind of my thought process. Like, I don't think that's actually what T-Mobile's gonna like. The only way T-Mobile makes that a focus is if government dollars go towards it, essentially, is what I'm saying. Like, if the government funds it, then T-Mobile will do it. But like, if we look at T-Mobile and we look at Sprint, because this is what the new T-Mobile is, neither carrier ever had a real focus on rural, right?
The carriers try to stay away as much as they can. It's the ROI it's rough, man.
Like, the only reason, like, the fact of the matter is, the only reason why Verizon and AT&T have a large rural footprint is because Government and enterprise paid for those deployments. Government
Also,
contracts,
they absorbed regional carriers too, Dennis.
but more importantly than that is that AT&T and Verizon got government contracts to build out to military bases that were
Sure,
truly in the bumfuck middle of
sure.
nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, they also got enterprise deals where, like, these enterprises were like, "Hey, we're putting a warehouse here. We need, like, baller LTE coverage to make all of our smart sensors work," right? Like, or like some huge mega, like, plantation that grows potatoes or something in the middle of Idaho is like, "Yo, we have all these sensors for our crops. We need wireless connectivity," right? Like, those are the reasons why they built out networks there, because they
Right.
didn't do it just for funsies. Like, it's customers like that that make that endeavor somewhat profitable. And T-Mobile doesn't get those types of contracts. They don't have a FirstNet agreement. They're not getting the military deals. They have nothing.
All right. So, what Dennis is discussing for those of you out there listening in the live, hashtag 2LiveCrew, or on replay, hashtag replay crew, he's talking about this situation right here. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a share screen. I want to show you guys what Dennis is talking about here. All right. So, if you put your attention at the bottom where the key is, the legend, you'll see you got 5G UC as this, like, as Ricky calls it, burgundy. It's like a really dark magenta burgundy color, right? Like the dark purple. That's 5G UC. That's the N41 2.5 gigahertz. The 5G extended range, which is all this stuff out here, that's your regular 5G. That's your N71 600 megahertz. The lighter pink stuff and the mid pink, that's 4G LTE, 3G, 2G. All right, and then you got your partners. All right, so I don't know if there's some roaming going on in here just outside of Watertown and Brookings. I mean, it says St. Paul. All right, so this is just outside of a main city. All right, now why is this important? Let's look at the way that this is structured. What Dennis was telling you guys is once you get outside of these cities, this is where T-Mobile's weaknesses are in terms of tower site density, right? So they do have a lot of macros and they do have a lot of tower sites and they do have some small cells, but it's really, really city based. So their weakness gets completely magnified once you leave major metropolitan areas and you leave counties that have, cities in them. Once you get into the boonies, once you get into the rural side of things, that's T-Mobile's Achilles heel. Now I'm going to zoom in and show you guys what is going on here. All right, so if we look at St. Paul, all right, you see the 5G UC is pretty much everywhere. All right, now this is how you need to kind of read this. Every one of these little splotches here is a tower site that has 5G UC. This is a tower site that has it. It even has that little that little lobe situation going on, with the three lobes with the three sectors of a tower site. So you got a tower site here, you got one there. Anywhere you see that darkish purple, there's your 5G UC. So here, another one. You got one there, you got one here, you got another one here. All right, here's a nice little cluster, maybe two sites. All right, if you go back into the city, you'll see that it's clustered. You've got tower sites handing off 5G UC. That's good. That's what we like. When you have that, the network gets reliable and it gets really freaking fast and very uniform speed. You're going to hand off a tower site that's getting 500 megabits to another tower site that gives you 500 megabits. The uplink stays fast. Everything's great. Okay. No congestion, no nothing. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Once you leave St. Paul, where's the 5G you see? Scattered, right? You got a tower site here. You got another one, a couple, maybe two sites away. I mean, these might actually be neighboring sites, but look how far they are, right? So what T-Mobile's going to have to do is, more fittingly, they probably have to add more sites. Not just add more N41, but legit add tower sites. Because if you look here, there's no coverage. Do you see this white spot, Dennis?
I do see it.
The way you address this is by trying to get a site in that area. And of course, you're going to upgrade it with all the best gear that you got, right? You're going to put up N41, N71, all the LTE and 5G fixins. You're going to have to fill in those gaps. This coverage map highlights the strengths and the weakness of T-Mobile. The coverage gaps where there's no coverage, the partners that they require to fill in gaps, and the areas where the 5G UC is yet to be deployed. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the hard part of networking. You see it right in front of your eyes. St. Paul and its outer perimeter is the toughest thing to do for a carrier, right? There's less people living outside of St. Paul, right? And there's more people in St. Paul. So like exactly what Dennis was saying, they will serve those people, no trouble at all. They make a lot of money on those people, and there's a lot of people there. But the return of investment in these outskirts are difficult to obtain.
And Sneed, just so that people can comprehend, let's put a ballpark figure right quick on what a new macro costs to actually construct. Do you know what the number is? Because I'll tell you what I have right now if you don't have a number off the top of your head.
What was the question, Dennis?
Let's put an actual, like a
Oh,
dollar sign for building a new macro. Do you have a figure in your head of what you think it costs?
depends on the permitting and the locations, but let's call it $1 million.
So you're going a little aggressive. It can be as cheap as 200,000, but $1 million is actually pretty fair for a rural site. And the reason why I
Okay.
say it's pretty fair is because going back to what I said about needing to run fiber to that site, you're talking about miles of fiber to get to a rural site at that point because it's really in the middle of nowhere. So that means new fiber needs to be ran. And like I talked about with T-Mobile being a leasing company, their operational maintenance cost on that site is also going to be exponentially higher than if they own their own fiber. So let's just go with that number. Let's say it's $1 million, right? T-Mobile will never get a return on that investment unless there is like an enterprise company that says we need it for this business use case, or unless tax dollars get spent to change the equation on that. And when we look at T-Mobile's expenditure, T-Mobile's winding down their capex. They basically said, "Hey, we're already almost done with our network build." They're in that late stage of the game, which is the reason why, based off of that, I'm saying that T-Mobile doesn't actually have intent to go out and actually densify those rural splotches. They don't care. Like, they can say all they want, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to them. It's not a real opportunity for growth. They would rather go back and say touch up New York, which is already well developed, to make sure they get more T-Mobile fixed wireless customers. Or they would rather touch up the Cleveland, Ohio area to make sure they're doing well there. They don't care about those rural customers. If Verizon and AT&T gets them, that's fine. They might be in that whole area to the left of St. Paul that you're looking at. There might be maybe a total of like at best 30,000 people. Like,
Yeah.
T-Mobile's fine with losing that.
Yeah, but they've been talking up the move into rural,
And they've
building
done that.
stores,
They've
building the sites. They
they've
talk that up.
they've done that. They did add coverage in the rural. They added low band coverage, which was better than no coverage. So you
Right.
have bars on phone, and that is commendable. They did expand and give coverage. I'm just saying that even the sweet spot of holy grail of mid-band, I don't foresee T-Mobile doing, because from your and I testing, or at least from my testing, I'll speak for myself, mid-band for T-Mobile really only reaches about a mile to maybe 1.5.
Yeah, in the suburban and urban setting, I think that's true. But from what I'm hearing, in the rural setting, it's reaching multiple miles.
What's the by chance, have you had an opportunity to test what it looks like past that from like a performance standpoint? Like, what's the
All right. So
performance drop off?
when I went out and like when me and the family took the vacation last year, I was good for like 2 miles off the freeway, and then it was completely gone. And then I was on band 2 only sites for like 30, 40 miles at a time.
So when you were like 2 miles off the freeway, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any recollection of like what kind of speed you were seeing? Because
Like
when I
100, 125 megabit.
okay.
Uplink was anemic. It was down to like 2, 3 megabits.
So the reason why I bring that up, right, is that when you start getting into that realm of performance, even though you might be getting a really weak cell edge N41 connection, I would argue with that kind of performance, you're getting into the territory of it doesn't matter anymore. Like, Like, if your upload is so anemic that you can't do anything, like, it's not gonna be beneficial to the fixed wireless home internet customer, right? Because that's what we want, right? For cell phone use, it's great, but it can also be argued that just having N71 gets the job done for the cell phone users use case in those situations. Because really what we're talking about here and why we care about UC here is because we want fixed wireless to expand. And in order
Yeah,
for that to
yeah,
happen, we have to get good uploads.
yeah.
Uploads are the first thing to suffer. So that's why I'm saying like a mile to 1.5, if I'm being generous, is really the cutoff. After that, uploads get to the point of literally
Unusable,
being, yeah, literally
unusable.
unusable.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree. Well, the densification process is going to be crucial. They're just going to have to bunch up and cluster up these sites. When I look at this map, Dennis, here's the way I see it. There's a tower site here.
Mm-hmm.
There's another tower site here. And nothing in between. Right? And if I look between these two sites, nothing in between. These little dead spots, there needs to be a tower here. If they put a tower in this area, that addresses these dead spots.
I mean,
You know-
Sneed, if we want to point something out too, even St. Paul the city isn't actually blanketed in UC. I see plenty of places in St. Paul itself that still need
Yeah,
cell site
yeah. Okay,
density.
so actually I can zoom in and highlight kind of what you're saying here. All right, so here's what Dennis is talking about. We'll go right into the heart of St. Paul. There's gaps, smaller gaps here. There's smaller gaps here, right? Here's a site, here's another site. They need one more in here to, they need to put an upgrade here that could get it. Then you got to fill in these gaps. And look, Dennis, we're nitpicking in St. Paul, right? The outskirts have plenty to poke holes at. We're nitpicking St. Paul. It's probably pretty good there. It's probably not bad. I bet you the average downlink speed in St. Paul is probably somewhere between 200 and 250 megabits,
Sure.
right? So that's not the problem in this map. The problem is once you leave St. Paul, you're going to have trouble with capacity. And I think more importantly, I think the tower handoffs are going to be very suspect.
No, but the reason why I'm nitpicking is because going back to what I was saying about how T-Mobile operates, you'll sooner see cell sites get added to St. Paul to fill in those little spots than adding one to a rural area, even if it ends up covering more footprint, is kind of what I'm going for here. And I'm also pointing out that even St. Paul, the city, isn't getting true ubiquitous, like 100% UC coverage love, right? Is what I'm going for here. But
You think by the end of the year?
no,
Wow. Wow. I think they'd be at 90% by the end of the year.
I mean, I base it off of what I think of with Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh is a bigger city, I think, than St. Paul is.
Is Pittsburgh 90% covered? T-Mobile
No.
with 5G UC? No, 80?
Maybe.
So it's like between 70, 75 maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would say that.
I think Cleveland is probably like Cleveland proper. It's probably 80% now. Once you leave Cleveland, you get into the suburbs, it's probably 60.
80% is fair. I mean, they did fix some of their sites. They finally added, I don't know what they had to do, if it was a back upgrade or what, but at least it's starting to get more UC speeds. But like, Pittsburgh is a challenging market to play in, and depending on what side of a building you're on is going to depend on whether or not you get that UC icon.
Ah, got you.
Because we
So
have
Dennis,
skyscrapers.
they have lofty goals, and I can appreciate that, and I can respect that. I'm like you, man. I think they're very lofty goals. I think they're very ambitious. I respect it, but it's going to be hard to do that. They want to go from 200 to 260 million pops. They've acknowledged that it's like 3 times harder. It's going to require way more densification, and it's just harder to do. And now, once you get to like 250 million pops, the pops don't matter anymore. Now it's about
Right.
square miles covered.
Right.
Because here's the thing. I swear, Dennis, if we were to do a full evaluation of this, you can't call this POPs covered. This whole area does not have POPs of 5G UC. This is not POPs here. All of these people do not have access to this site. So if there's 1,000 people where all this regular pink is, they don't count as POPs covered by this tower site. No way. Because they're not connecting to it. This is why I think the square miles covered is crucial.
So there's
Like,
two quick things I want to say real fast, and this is important. One, I just want to be clear. I don't think it's a bad thing that T-Mobile has ambitious goals set. It's fine to have ambitious goals set. Even if you don't reach the bar, at least you'll be higher than had you set it super low. I just want to point that out real fast. But two, there was a comment that came in from Sneaker and Lace. I'm not sure if it's a joke or not, but he said T-Mobile just needs to spend maybe $4 billion on small cells and maybe they'll come out on top. Sneaker and Lace, I just want you to know $4 billion will be nothing for deploying small cells in this country. Like if T-Mobile wanted to actually have a meaningful amount of small cells deployed, like an actual meaningful amount, it's gonna literally require like a dedicated like 30 billion over the course of like the next 5 to 10 years.
well, they've been shutting down small cells.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've been turning stuff off and trying to do it all for macros. And you know what? Neville Ray spoke today at that conference. He doubled down. We're a macro-based network. He doubled down, man. Can you think about this, Dennis. Verizon and AT&T are like so different. They're densified, they're small cells, C-RAN, millimeter wave, right? And then here's T-Mobile. We're like, we're we're trying to reduce the amount of cells we use.
Listen, small cells matter.
Oh yeah.
Small cells are the only way, repeat, only way you cover a city like Pittsburgh with reliable coverage, period. You cannot get macros everywhere in Pittsburgh. You cannot just throw one on the top of the hill because at the base of that hill, there will be dead spots. You must have small cells. And the reason why AT&T's LTE literally can trade blows with T-Mobile's 5G UC is because they're the only carrier in Pittsburgh to actually put small cells in the actual city. Small cells matter. I appreciate Neville Ray, but he's thinking from the finance department, not the engineering department that he leads.
That's right. Which is interesting because he is an engineer in heart, right? That's his forte.
It's clear that he's speaking. Listen, it's clear that he is working with what he has as a budget. I don't fault him for trying to maximize his budget. And for T-Mobile at the very given moment anyway, they are still in that macro space anyway where they need macro cell sites. Like I would argue that's where they're at. But at some point, if they want quote unquote real 5G and even a hope or a prayer of even existing into the 6G era, they're going to have small cells, and it's going to require probably like at least minimum like 450,000 small cells existing across the country as a minimum.
Man, I agree with Nikki. Small cells saved Verizon over the past decade. That is 100% facts. That is 100% facts. I can tell you guys from my experience with the company for the past 20 plus years and watching the small cell build over the last decade, it is all fact. 100% of the way. They put small cells in every major shopping plaza, every mall. They put DAS systems everywhere. Their network just would not have been able to make it. They've had extreme market share here because of the Alltel deal. They have the most customers. They had to do that. You know, maybe it's because T-Mobile didn't have to do it initially, right? They probably haven't felt compelled to do small cells because they haven't felt the need to.
And I'll be honest, like I want to be clear here. T-Mobile has enough spectrum at the moment that they don't necessarily have to. I'm not saying I don't want them to. I'm just saying that they don't necessarily have to. That peak hasn't hit yet. Not quite. Like, their coverage just needs to be good enough because they're serving consumers, right? But specifically, T-Mobile's trying to make a big push on servicing enterprise customers, and I can promise you right now, macros will not do the job. Amazon is not going to be like, yes, T-Mobile, we'll sign a deal with you to service our warehouses and just throw a macro outside the building. They want small cells. So we'll have to wait and see. But look, we're running a little bit out of time. I really want to touch on the video that you posted today, which
Go ahead,
has to do with
Dennis.
fixed wireless and the net ads. I don't know if you still have the article or not, but we saw some pretty interesting stuff here. Basically, first off, all the ISPs, including Verizon, actually fell short of their projections for broadband net ads this most recent quarter, if you remember. The
Mhm.
only one that surpassed their projected ads was actually AT&T. They were the only one. But more importantly is I want to focus on the competition aspect. So Sneed, have you been paying attention by chance what Comcast has been doing over here in the Northeast division?
Talk to me about it, dog.
So Comcast did what they've done every year for like the past 20 years. They bumped up their speeds again. And this one is actually quite massive because now the lowest upload you can get on Comcast is 10 meg. No more 5 meg stuff. So it goes 50 by 10. I want to say I think 100 became 200 by 10. And then 300 by 10, 600 by 20, 900 by 25, and 1200 by 35. Those are the new speed tiers. But with it came some new, very, very aggressive promos, specifically referring to that 300 meg tier, which is called Performance Pro. So in hyper competitive markets, they're sending out these little marketing flyers that are like literally feel like a plastic credit card. They're like made of plastic. For $20, 1-year contract, 2-year price lock, you can get 300 by 10, but it's actually eligible for the mobile discount as well, which is $10, which previously didn't used to get that discount on that tier. So if you get mobile, you can literally get a 300 megabit per second connection for $10 per month, Sneed.
So competition is alive and well.
Yes. And for the rest of the country, it goes $30 and then $20 with the discount. But that's for non-competitive areas. But I wanted to bring that up because I'm going to say it right now. We already agreed that consumers are going to look around for the cheapest deal, and no one's going to complain about 300 meg. That is plenty for every single household. That is hands down the best pricing I think I've seen from any ISP, period.
For a wired, like a legit line run to a home.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best value in home internet.
I mean, literally, we could say the upload is a little bit anemic, whatever, but for $20 or $10 respectively, how can you complain? I spend more on that on a pizza from Costco.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
So that's one thing I wanted to bring out. But
Okay,
going
first of all, real talk, Dennis, when you found out about this, you got a boner. Admit it, bro. Admit it. Okay, I'm talking hypothetical here. I'm talking about in the sense of technology. Dennis was excited.
Yeah.
Listen, that's a great deal. But Dennis, you told me that fixed wireless can't compete, right? And we could argue it's about the technology or whatever. This is acknowledgement that home ISPs and big cable, they feel the wireless carriers. They feel them now. They would not have done this, Dennis, if T-Mobile didn't drop home internet. They would not have done this if Verizon didn't just launch the 5G ultra wideband. They wouldn't have did it. That's fact, because they just did it, and they just did this.
Yeah, I mean, when I talk about
it's not by chance. It's not a coincidence. Literally did it just now after Verizon and T-Mobile did what they did.
So I just want to clarify something. When I talk about hyper competitive areas, I'm talking about areas that actually have an actual real competitor. Like my area has Fios, for example. It's a new construction area, hence the reason why we get special deals that don't exist for other households. Um, I don't think fixed wireless actually played that big of a difference because Verizon's also doing some pretty aggressive promos on their fiber product right now, specifically in my community. Normally like 300 by 300 is $40. It's currently 30 right now. You're giving me this look of like I'm
I'm
just talking out.
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, in your situation, because there's multiple fiber providers, multiple cable providers, you're right. But Dennis, look at the timing. Look at the timing. They just did this, right?
I mean, I got the flyer in the mail, which is what made me look. They might have done it sooner. I'm not sure, but
Bro, they knew they were coming. They didn't do this last year.
listen, Sneed, it gets
Wasn't
better.
Verizon Fios there last year?
Yes, and they were also doing promos where my stuff was like
They
$10.
weren't doing $10 a line, bruh. They weren't doing $10.
They weren't doing $10, but they were doing 30.
Dennis, they're trying to price out Verizon Home Internet. They're trying to price out T-Mobile Home Internet. They're trying to price them out. They don't even want these customers looking at them.
But listen, Sneed, it gets better. They also redid the discounts for the mobile. So last year around Christmas time was the first time that Comcast did more than $10 off of like a mobile discount because that's usually what it is. They did like 30. But with these revamped promos, Gig gets $35 off if you get mobile. So that means you can get a gigabit connection from Comcast. Ready for it? For $45 per month. Because that's, yeah, that did math right. $45 per month, and you got a gigabit connection.
We got a super chat from Carlos. Doc says, D's nuts. We need more fiber. Carlos wants fiber to premises, dog. That's what he's saying. He wants fiber to premises.
I mean, obviously, fiber is the end game. We've already agreed that's the gold standard. I'm just talking about right now pricing. Like, legit, like, Sneed, I kid you not, $10 per month.
That's crazy.
That literally makes me be like, you know what?
It looks like TK missed it. Dennis, could you give him the deets on that again?
Yeah, so TK, Comcast over here in the Northeast Division redid some of their promos and stuff like that. In hyper competitive areas, they're sending out these little flyers. It's literally made of like the plastic that you would like have like a credit card made out of. Performance Pro, $20 for 300 by 10, but eligible for an additional $10 discount if you get their cell phone service.
So you see why I said this is because of the mobile network operators. They're tying it into the mobile service. I'm telling, they're just trying to take away from them, and they want to make them sticky. Get your home, get your wireless. We'll do the whole thing for you, right? They knew this was coming, Dennis. They knew it.
Now I'm gonna say one thing though,
Big
because I
shout
know
out
that.
to RFK Tech, by the way. Thank you, Ricky. Appreciate you, bro.
Now I'm gonna say one thing though, because I know you're gonna have a bone to pick with it. They still got the ballooning pricing. If you read
What is it after that, man? What is it after the year?
So it's after 2 years. It's a 2-year price lock, 1-year contract,
That's
2-year
all
price
right.
lock.
All right.
But after the 2 years, first take a guess what you think it jumps up to, and then I'll tell you what it is.
Well, they don't do national. It's always regional, right?
Pricing literally varies on a house by house basis.
Okay, so here's the way I look at it. Whatever Verizon Fios is, Comcast is probably going to beat them by like 10%. So
nope,
no.
dude, it's more expensive. Okay, so
I thought what are you paying for Verizon? $90, right?
I am grandfathered in at $75 for now.
Okay, because I was thinking I was gonna say if Fios is coming in at 90, I got Comcast coming in at like 80, 85.
No, so their 300 meg tier that I talked about, their cheapest one, after the promo expires, it's gonna jump up to $98 per month.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
$98. That would be the
That's
non-promotional
literally the
pricing.
worst. Bro, they never learn. This is literally why people want to go to Verizon and T-Mobile Home Internet. Bro, they haven't changed anything. They're the same thing. All right, bro. Look. Their DNA is what it is. They'll never change. And you wonder why I have such disdain and venom for cable ISPs.
Hey, I'm not hiding it. I brought it up because I knew you'd have a problem with it,
Yeah, man,
and it's a
I
fair
do.
problem. Now, that being said, can I just say something that's realistic real quick? Realistically speaking, re-
Super chat from David.
realistically,
Hashtag make 'em stick.
realistically speaking, though, Sneed, all you have to do is just set a little calendar reminder for yourself, like a couple months prior to your promo expiring. Call in and just be like, "Yo, I want new promo X."
Yeah, well, here's
I mean,
what I would
it's a
do.
waste of time. It's a pain in the ass. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying that really is what you have to do. You just have to
What
call.
I would do is this. I would let the term expire. I'd wait to see the new bill, and I'd call and I'd say, "Look, I'll pay this exploding price, but I'm leaving after this month. What's the deal? Either you keep my price the same or I'm leaving."
I can promise you right now, with a straight face, there's no way in hell they keep your price at
I'm
$10.
leaving. I'm leaving.
I'm just telling you the truth. There's
I
no way in
swear,
hell.
Dennis, I will take a slower plan. I swear to you, I will take a slower plan and pay 10%, 20% more just to leave. I'm just
Like,
built like that. Like, that's what I'll do. I don't, bro, the reason why they do this is because they can get away with it. People take it on the chin. People literally take it on the chin and just keep it pushing. I don't want to switch, and this is difficult, and it's all complicated. I don't want to get new gear, and blah blah blah. Bruh,
yeah, but would you? This is
amazing, Pete.
would
Can we
you?
do this? Can we
Oh,
do
go
this one,
ahead.
Dennis?
Thank you, Pete, for the super chat. He said, "Good stuff as always. Thanks for cranking out the podcast and the perspectives."
Thanks,
Well,
Pete.
thank you
Appreciate
for
you, man.
watching and supporting Sneed Mobile Tech.
Big salute to Pete, man. Always supporting the show. Thank you, man. Thanks for all that you do and supporting us. Thank you.
But real quick, can we at least agree that $10 for that speed tier
It's
is?
incredible.
But hold up, is so low that it wouldn't make sense to keep you at that pricing? Like, nobody, not a single company that I'm aware of on the
Yeah,
face
but
of this
Dennis, you're
earth.
going from $10 to $100.
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying let's just say they gave you a new promo at the end. They're like, well, that
I'd
promo
rather
doesn't.
pay 50 forever.
Listen, let's just say they give you a new promo at the end of that 2 years, right?
Okay,
They're like,
what's it
hey,
gonna
that
be?
pro that
What's it
that
gonna be?
they'll be like, hey, that promo doesn't exist anymore, but because they're doing speed increases, we can give you 500 meg for $30. Are you happy, or are you still upset because it went up $20 on you?
Look, man, if you're getting what you're paying for, I'm good with it. The ballooning is a problem. Bruh, they need to change that one thing. Actually, two things. You know the other one. It's the data cap.
Data cap. Okay. Well, we don't have a data cap in the Northeast. That's why I had to think for a second.
I'm with you there. All right. That's got to go. If it's not there, good for you. All they got to do is compete, and they will have my approval and support. The moment you gouge customers, you got a target on your back from the SMT. I'm coming, bro.
So can I
Like,
just say,
I know I only got 17, 18,000 subscribers, and
yeah,
I know that I don't reach all of America, but I swear I will make it my life's work to put cable ISPs on blast every video I get a chance to make.
so Sneed,
I dog Cox every podcast.
I'm
Every
aware.
single one.
I'm aware, but Sneed, I just want to say this though, just to be clear, you'll never see pricing that low without there being some kind of catch. Like if
But
we
Dennis, what if they just streamline the pricing and stop doing the explosive? You don't even have to come in at $10. Come in at $49.99. Come in at $59.99. Go national. Bro, why do you think I like AT&T? Because they treat customers so great? Because they're so good about their billing? No. I like AT&T because they have national pricing for their
can I
fiber.
can I say something that's actually not true?
The fiber is
AT&T
nationally priced.
AT&T does the same shenanigans in targeted markets. They call them hyper competitive markets where they do tailored pricing. That's when they start whipping out the $1,000 Visa prepaid cards and the
Dennis,
crazy.
your information betrays you. They have gone national with their fiber pricing.
I am willing to bet you a thing of scallops, okay, that if we start looking in depth for an area that has actual competition, let's pick somewhere down in North Carolina, for example, where Google Fiber exists and Spectrum exists. Guarantee there is promos down there that are exclusive to specific households that actually have multiple options for.
What is the cheapest non-municipal fiber national pricing?
What is the cheapest non-municipal fiber national pricing from AT&T?
No, it is AT&T.
Oh, AT&T.
It is AT&T. Municipal's the only way you're ever going to beat AT&T in fiber and pricing. Nobody's touching them.
What's their cheapest? $30, right?
$35.
$35? $35? Okay.
35.
Do you know what CenturyLink is? 'Cause I thought CenturyLink fiber was pretty cheap.
It's I think it's similar. Carlos has it. I think he pays 45.
Yeah, but CenturyLink does pricing for life, and I'm almost 100% positive. Did AT&T get rid of their promo pricing? I swear
Yes.
they got rid of it.
They got rid of promos. They got rid of ballooning. They got rid of and then they added the national pricing. And their multi-gig, best in the industry. Right? They're coming in, what is it? 110 for 2 gig? National. 5 gig is 180. They're going to probably charge like 250 or something for the 10 gig. You know?
Hold up, Zach's saying AT&T is $55 a month for him for 300 meg, and didn't you say we agreed it was 35?
35 plus $10 for the equipment.
So that's still a $10 difference. Where's the $10? Yeah. So that goes back to what I was saying about pricing varying by area, just like speed varies by area.
He must be a pre-existing customer. The new pricing, I don't know. Bro, I got the literature from an AT&T employee. They sent it to me when they first launched the program. I don't know. Oh no. Dude, gig for me is like $60.
That's what I'm trying to tell you, Sneed. I'm telling you, dude.
But it's national.
Telecom. Yeah, so Comcast has quote unquote national pricing as well, but then it starts varying by division about what divisions have data caps and what don't, and then you start talking about
what the hell do they mean by national?
listen, and then you start talking about apartment complexes where they work out the deal with the ISP, so that if you're a tenant there, you get like different pricing. Because like Verizon does the same thing. Verizon has what they're called bulk agreements. They're called bulk accounts. And if you go to like an apartment complex, or hell, there's actually there's whole HOAs where they sign on a big bulk agreement with Verizon. They get special pricing on the Fios pricing.
Is it better or worse?
I mean, the internet and I would argue it's worse because when you sign a bulk agreement, you're basically saying like everybody here is going to get this baseline package, and it typically includes TV with it.
Yeah.
And while it's cheaper, like the plan is cheaper, it's like baked into like your mortgage or your rent or
what does it save you, $10 or something?
It can save you more than that, but you end up paying for things that you don't want. Like you end up with like every cable television station, and yeah, it's like cheaper, but like it's not cheaper.
But if you didn't want TV, you'd be paying for it anyway.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Dennis, I did not think that they would have did that. That $10 is crazy.
I know.
That is bananas. And you know what? It's no coincidence, dog. This is timing. This is very, very timely, right? So Verizon, here it comes. T-Mobile, here it comes. They're like, wait a minute. Hold up. We're not losing our customers to you people. Come get your wireless. Come get your home internet. Look at these prices. We got it.
Yeah, but forget the wireless for a moment. Even if you didn't get the wireless discount, even at $20.
Yeah, but they're trying to take them away, Dennis, when they throw in the wireless.
I'm aware. I'm just saying, but even at $20, it's
good.
Still it's still
good.
Like literally, the reason why I brought it up is because remember how I had this whole argument with you that there's not a hope or a prayer that fixed wireless ever actually takes over cable where cable exists. This is what I meant by that.
Dennis, I don't think I agree with you. I don't think fixed wireless will ever have more customers than cable. I don't think it's even close. Okay, if there's let's use an arbitrary number. 100 million home ISP customers in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Cable and fiber will always have 90% of them. the fixed wireless providers are going to share the 10%. Give T-Mobile and Verizon and some other rando wisps 10 million of those 100 million.
Gotcha. Well, I see RFK's commenting. We should probably wrap up the show because I want to let our boy go live as well, of course. Do you have any last final thoughts, Steve? This is your channel after all.
Well, my final thought is, Dennis, you're amazing. Thanks for coming on and hanging out with me, man. That's my final thought.
As always, my friend.
Everybody in the live chat, thank you guys for coming through and hanging out. Appreciate all the comments. For those of you that were here in the live, #2LiveCrew, the replay gang, #replay_crew. And for everybody that offered donations and super chats, you guys are amazing. Thanks for supporting. Appreciate all that you do. Please like, share. If you're new, subscribe. Turn on the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. I have links in the description for the Patreon community. Also, my Twitter and email are there. And if you guys want really, really good deals and promotions on Los Mobile, they can't be beat right now. All right, they've got incredible Magenta deals, Magenta MAX, regular Magenta lines. If you want Verizon access, they got it all. They got everything. So let me know. Hit me on the DM on Twitter. We'll get you connected to the Discord. It should be really, really good for you. I think you guys will enjoy it. Yes, David, #making sticky, the new hashtag. It's gross. Why not? All right. But Ricky's going live. We're going to move over there. We'll be there to support Ricky and see what he's got for us on his show. Dennis, appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on. We out this piece.
Peace.